everyone. This is Akshay here, and I want to welcome you to Scale Adventures. I have with me Matt Florian, the partner and owner and co-founder of COMERIT Technologies. Matt, before we dive into the details of this podcast, I always ask founders to just briefly tell us a little bit about the work that you do so people can get a context on that.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So we are a IT services company. We are focused on analytics, particularly cloud analytics. We have clients historically with SAP analytics projects and have taken the jump with many of our clients into the cloud analytics space, and a great deal of focus on the cloud and Snowflake analytics. So we are a clean analytics focused company. That's what I think is probably the best way to put it.
Got it. Something like analytics or data orientation can have applications in multiple industries. What are the one or two industries you tend to prefer to work with, and what kinds of problems do they come to you for?
Sure. We have been focusing a great deal of our attention in the utilities industries and focused on them. There's a large number of challenges that they're facing that they need to get better and more direct analytics. And we've been working a lot in the ag services industry. And that's been very exciting because there's been a lot of growth in agronomy as part of an impact to providing the overall food supply. Those both have been big industries that we've worked with as far as verticals go.
Got it. Maybe just to put some structure on it or some clarity on it, can you give us like one or two examples or use cases that typically reflect the kind of problems you're addressing and the kinds of outcomes customers typically get in those two industries, just to make it a little bit more vivid for people?
Sure. The interesting thing in analytics is that for many companies, the problem boils down to about the same thing. They want to have better forward-looking analytics and be able to make use of machine learning and AI. There's a lot of buzz about machine learning and AI, but to get there, there's a path. You have to build your way up to make that happen. And what many of our clients have encountered in that path is that their SAP implementations, which most all these large organizations like that have an SAP implementation, SAP alone can't do the job. It has to be SAP plus something else. SAP plus their PeopleSoft, SAP plus some third-party manufacturing that gives them the insights and be able to create a data platform that they can really consume. And so we focus our attention to move them into a data as a product type of environment. So they don't have to come to the table with all the questions that they want to ask in business, because those questions are very dynamic. We give them a platform so they can answer questions as they encounter them, or they can explore them inside of an organization, inside of a business unit, deeper than what maybe the enterprise does. So it's a very over in the analytics space, we refer to it as being data mesh. It's very meshy. It follows principles of data mesh, but it's not quite.
Got it. And I'm not really from the data space, as you can perhaps guess, but you mentioned this thing that we like to take data as a product approach. I hope I understood that correctly.
That's correct.
What did you mean by data as a product approach?
It boils down to thinking of data as like little Lego blocks. As we bring it in, data is first just that plastic, and we form it into a tiny little Lego block. And we have a bunch of those sitting around, and then we start forming those Lego blocks together into a little bit larger of a Lego block. And then we just go and form that together into a larger Lego block. And these can be reused. It's the beautiful thing about data as a product is that data itself does not diminish. It stays. Yeah, I can consume it one time or 500 times, and it's the same product. It never changes. And that's the key concept that we try to do as data as a product. It's consistent, reliable, and it can be trusted. And so if you have a product that you can trust like that within your enterprise, then you can do all sorts of amazing analytics with it, because your answers will be the same every time.
And I'm sensing that you were talking about that what they want is the future forecasting and the ability to do that. Can you give me like a specific use case, either in the agri-services space or in the utility space, that demonstrates a before-after picture of that kind of a transformation?
Sure. I think some of the best examples of this starts to come out of being able to excuse me, take very real-time data coming in from a plant and what is going on as you have a factory line building product and you have cameras on that line, and the cameras themselves can detect through camera vision AI defects quicker and faster than a human could detect them. In order to get to that point, in order to be able to know that this is defect and this is the downstream impact of these defects, you have to have already established data about what it is. You've had to have trained it. You had to know what bad is and what good is, and being able to train models to detect that along the line, whatever the variance is going to be. So that's what data product can provide. It can say, what does that variance look like? What is good? What is bad? And then train so that you can have something monitor streams of data that's good and bad, and still continue to improve that model over time with your data products.
Got it. And to a company that's at this stage looking at working with a company like you, what are some either things they need to have in place, or how should they be thinking about engaging with a partner with you? What would be initial recommendations of what they should be looking at or thinking about?
The companies that want to engage with COMERIT, they would like our help, are companies that are seeing firsthand that their operations are very complex and their data needs are complex and goes well beyond the SAP data. And SAP can do a lot of amazing things inside of it. As far as an ERP tool, it can do analytics out of the box that are outstanding and help you run the day-to-day operations of the business. But as we called it before, the SAP plus other data that really gets at it. Those are the ones that companies that realize they need to look at a different platform. And so we get companies come to us from one of two paths. Either they are about to go and do an upgrade of their SAP environments, in which case we work with them to prepare their analytics to do it, because it's a great time to go and start building a platform right before you go and do an upgrade. Or they've already done the upgrade and now they want to try to bring together historical and their new business process data together. Then that's where we also come in, because our approach and how we build the data platforms really lends to taking historical and current data together and blending it into a single pane of glass for customers. So those are oftentimes where they come to us and say, can you help us with this? And that is where we excel.
And I'm sensing that because it's a point of transition, the impact of your work is higher. And I guess they can even rethink how they would use it or what they could do with it.
It is. It's that change. They're in the midst of a change. And with that change is a great opportunity to go and take advantage of it. Because for many of them, when they change, they're going through a fairly large scale business transformation, which includes changing business processes around that may not have been effective. Maybe they were on an old in-house resource planning or point of sale system, and now they're going to go and follow very structured processes from, say, SAP. And SAP has really structured processes. Of course, you can go around them and you can go and modify and tweak them and change them into being all sorts of things. But out of the box, it really makes you follow a structured process, which for many companies is a step forward because some of them just didn't have it. But that means that you have data that was generated using different processes, different approaches, which in reality means your data has different context. The context that data was created, the process that was created, matters significantly as to what it means and what its value is. So bringing that together and then merging those contexts together is a challenging task. It's not unattainable. It's very attainable, but it is challenging. It takes experience to understand how to do it.
Got it. So I want to pivot this conversation on the business side of your journey. You've been building companies for quite a while, right? And if you look back at it, what are the maybe one or two hindsight wisdom lessons on building companies? Because our audience tends to be technical founders. And so we try to understand their business a little bit, and then we try to understand the scaling journey or the growth journey a little bit.
So the lesson of my youth is that there's two things that I learned out of this that really dampens me and my gusto into everything that we go at. And the first is to go and try to hit too wide of a market. I think every opportunity that comes along, you go, oh, we could do that. We could do that. And you go and spread yourself all over the market. And then you don't quite do any of those. Focus in on a space. We're really focused in on the space of looking at the SAP market quite heavily. That's our space. And we're focused heavily on that. The other thing that I learned, we'll go with the baseball analogy. You can switch it over to cricket. I'm not quite sure how it applies into cricket on the
We'll go
language,
with
but
baseball, no worries.
I'll let you do the translation for it. But the baseball analogy is always swinging to the fence, always trying to hit a home run with everything that we do. And in the end, if you look at who makes it to World Series, it's not the teams that had the home run kings and they were always hitting home runs. It was the teams that were consistently, reliably hitting singles and doubles. Those consistent reliables, the ones that end up getting to the championship because they had a consistent set of people engaged in the game and ready to score. And that's what in business, I think you really need to focus on, those singles and doubles. I'm not here to create the next iPhone. I'm here to go and build consistent products. So that's what we do.
Yeah, and it strikes me that both the point of singles and doubles and focus, they dovetail and amplify the impact, right? So the more focused you are, the more the singles and doubles matter because the lessons compound, the skills compound, the reputation compounds.
Yeah. And if you connect just right, and when you're going singles and doubles, and you hit that ball just right, absolutely, you can still hit a home run. But you're not always swinging for the fence. Those doubles are pretty tasty too.
Yes, totally. And when I reflect on my journey, it is not obvious the power of compounding. You think it applies to everything. And the more focused you are, the more you're able to build on. I used to have idea ADD, which is, oh, this is great, or that founder's awesome, or versus, you know what, we set out to do this one thing. Let's try and do it as best as we can. Just resonating.
And the funny thing is that what really allowed me to learn that focus is that during COVID, my COVID project was to become a fly fishing guide. For years, I've been a fly fisherman. And I decided that when I retire, when I finally cash in and say I'm done, I'm going to go and take a job that will guarantee that I don't make any money. And that's the fly fishing guide. But being a guide and working with clients, just the two clients in a boat going down a river, gives you nothing but focus. It makes you focus on not the rock that's right in front of you, but the rock that's just down the stream that you can see that you have to go and avoid, or the bank that you see is deep water that's going to hold a lot of fish that you want to get your clients in front of. You focus on those things. You know the river, the tools it takes to get there, but you focus on how to make that journey happen and get a nice, smooth flow through it. Those lessons from fly fishing and being a guide come into my daily life as a business owner in IT. And that's how I get centered with it.
It does strike me that you have a way with metaphors that really bring home the point. I think this fly fishing one will stick with me for a long time. I think it's a fantastic one. I have one last question. When you look at the next 2 or 3 years, where are you seeing the focus? Where do y'all want to go as a company? What's on the roadmap for the future?
Well, the focus is going to be continue to move databases and analytics into the cloud. That's data in the cloud, and getting a better handle on data is going to continue to be the top priority for many businesses, particularly as they are hitting, if there's a recession or if there's just downturn in the economy like we've seen, that they need to take out costs and find where they have opportunities for increased revenue. And the beautiful thing about data when we deal with it is that it comes down to just 2 levers. Data is just about outcomes. It's about pulling a lever to reduce costs, pushing a lever to increase revenue. And those are the only 2 outcomes that businesses are really focused on. And if their analytics are focused on those 2 outcomes and have a direct tie to them, then they're coming to us to improve. And if we can reduce costs by moving them from a heavy infrastructure load on premise and move them into the cloud for a no infrastructure, just a usage-based model, then they'll save money. And that takes out costs and that helps them. So I think that will continue to be the focus. They'll continue to be driving in that direction.
I think What's very interesting about the way you've articulated it, it's almost like a downturn will accelerate the demand for your work if and when it comes.
If it does, there'll be some businesses positioned to go and take advantage of that and
Yeah.
say, we need to do this. And they were already thinking about doing it. Unfortunately, downturns happen, and as does in a market economy, some businesses may not be focused on it, may not be ready to take advantage of it and will feel the impact of it. But ultimately, it can be, again, an opportunity to improve.
Got it. And this is again goes back to a fly fishing example. You got to see the rock coming. You got to get focused.
Correct.
Got it. Yep. I got it. I got it.
See, now you're gonna have to come out here and go fishing in Colorado.
Perhaps one day. So Matt, I once again want to thank you. This is always a privilege to talk to people who have been there, done that, and just to connect. On behalf of everybody that is watching, we want to say a big thank you. On behalf of my team, I want to say a big thank you.